Renita Bonides. Good evening, thank you for joining us.
Good evening. This is my 8th consecutive month to speak and 11th month of attending meetings. There are very few in this room, on this board, or in the administration that know anything about me, and I want to share a little bit about my background. I grew up in Grand Blanc, Michigan. It was basically an all-white district when I got there in 7th grade back in 1973. That was when Bill became the first black student in the district. He was in my math class, and the two of us worked together as we were in a more advanced section. He was a person, someone I viewed as an equal, not as a color. I treated him like any other student around me in school. By the time I graduated, there were many more blacks in the district, but still a very small percentage. I moved on after graduation to Indiana, Ohio, Nashville, Tennessee, before moving back to Grand Blanc, Flint area. 2005, my family and high school children attended an all-black church in downtown Flint. We were the only white family in the church for 9 months. During that time, I made friends with many wonderful men and women. I would meet with them and we learned about each other. I heard stories of their past in the Deep South in Mississippi. There was no attempt to blame the other because of our histories. Rather, we developed a deep compassion and love for one another. This church then merged with a predominantly white church. Without those walls being broken down in a time of learning about each other, that would not have likely happened so smoothly. And I also worked at the Flint Farmers Market for 6 years with a very diverse cultural setting and interacting with thousands of people a year. When I moved to Midland 10 years ago, I found this to be a very homogeneous community. It felt so strange to not see the diversity I had always had around me. There has been some change in the past 10 years, but not very diverse from my perspective. I say all this to let you know that many advances can be made in helping the children learn and grow without these forced programs and agenda. Why is it necessary for a student to have a teacher of their color to know they can succeed? Is it not possible to have speakers of their color from the community come in to speak to the ability to be successful in a wide variety of careers? Can they not learn through books, movies, field trips, and other activities? There is obviously a shortage of qualified teachers in all ethnicities, but especially minorities. As was mentioned at the last month, are we forced to take someone solely on the color of their skin and not their qualifications? I hope this helps you understand why I do not like the agendas to divide the parents, teachers, and community, while the children are the ones paying the price along the way. We want to help children learn to become achievers, not victims of society or their past. Let's do our part in the schools to help them succeed. We can do much better and should. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Bonides. Good evening, thank you for joining us.
Hello, I have two areas to cover tonight. First, in the November 2021 meeting, the board was startled that the public was aghast that 14 bylaw changes were commonly voted in, with the public not having any way to view them previously. And you were still confused when this issue was raised during the public comments at subsequent meetings. Well, based on Mr. Charles' comments at the April meeting, you appear to be ready to throw the Neola package overboard in favor of a new package. The selling points Mr. Sharrow mentioned were simpler, and that this group would defend the board in court. So I have three questions. Will there be an opportunity for the public to see this new package at any time before it is implemented? Or is this going to be just a review by Mr. Sharrow, rubber stamped by a subcommittee, and then this board? Two, is this new package at all aligned with more effectively teaching the students, or is this strictly a defensive structure the board would be implementing so they can limit their liabilities? And three, does this new package impact the interactions with the parents in any way to improve the lack of transparency, or is this going to add a thicker layer between the parents and desires and school actions? While this whole thing may not matter that much, as you don't actually have to follow your bylaws, it will make your lawyer's job easier later should the parents get out of hand. In any case, please implement these changes as quickly as possible so those parents who are trying to decide to pull their kids next year can make that decision. Second topic, at the March board meeting, Mr. Bruton gave a lengthy presentation on how he was working on the multitude of federal funds to enable all sorts of things to happen in the district. In the course of that description, he appeared to describe hiring 30 more professionals in various non-teaching roles. When asked by Mr. Blasey about sustaining this, he said things like, quote, "Hope the governor's budget passes. He was hopeful. We need good thoughts, and we will have plans B, C, and D." At the budget review meeting in April, 1 month later, during public comment, I asked how we were going to sustain these spending areas when the grant stopped. Mr. Bruton then gave a forward-looking view that was of what was coming the next year, and that he said that the ESSER funds were being used for one-time projects. Mr. Sharrow at that session said that the teacher attrition would allow for transitioning of these new positions if grant dollars go away. So if we are going to be okay with the grants ending, and after we have added staff in these non-teaching roles, what are we not going to teach anymore to stay on budget, because the people we add are not going to be able to teach math, science, and early education? These two meetings were telling very different stories regarding our dependence on the government team. Thank you.
Thank you. Last on the list that I have in front of me is Peggy Hoff. Good evening, Peggy. Thank you for joining us.
First, I'm Peggy Hoff. I would like to commend the students and the science, chief scientists left, but I want to commend the students in this district. I have 2 children that graduated from Midland Public Schools and have gone on to be exemplary citizens, and hopefully everyone here will. I also have 4 grandchildren in this school district, and I am basically a sociologist by nature. So I like to study and I like to research. I was pretty dismayed back, I think it was March. I have in front of me some information from the Center for Educational Performance and Information about Michigan school data compared to Midland Public Schools data. Somewhere I think I saw a sign that said something about us being in the top 6% of Michigan state schools. I'm pretty disgusted that somebody could manipulate statistics to show that. I know we have a wonderful school system. I'm not denying that. What I am wanting to bring forth is information on English, math, and science that is pitiful. For example, I just pulled this one out. 3rd grade. In Michigan State, there's 42.8% proficiency. That's horrible. In our district, there's 55.9%. That's not much better. If any of you are teachers, you all know the grading system and the point average. These are failures. These are not good. We have exemplary students here. Those are the ones that are beyond proficiency. But I'm talking about the basic proficiency of what we're supposed to be teaching in these schools that we are not. We're not necessarily leaving out kids who are they're gonna strive for excellence no matter what. They have a basic, parental structure or family structure or community structure that feeds into that. I'm talking about kids who can't read and can't write. I have science numbers here. I suggest that you all look at the website, and I'm just pulling up 3rd grade. All students, 42% in Michigan and 57%. What happened to the other 4 out of 10 kids? Where are they? They can't do 3rd grade math in 3rd grade. I have 7th grade. These tests are recent. There was no statistics done for 2019 through 20. So you'll have to do the comparison.
Thank you.
I'm Matt Buchek. So I think we can all see this coming, is that sooner or later the school system is going to be rocked. There's a good chance that the the federal Department of Education could be ended. There's a good chance that the voucher program could be coming to Michigan shortly. Politically, things could change on a dime. I'm just wondering what the school system is going to do about that. We spend upwards of $10.5 million a month, which is an incredible amount of money. So I want to talk a little bit about that. We all pay taxes to go to the school, but everybody that I've talked to who has the means to leave is leaving. I'm sorry. My kids are still here as of now. So there's something funny that we spent money on. We spent like $82,000. This is just one example. January 10th meeting on a 2013 telehandler, which is equipment for the trade school. We had nobody licensed at the time, and students could never be licensed to use it. Did we get that equipment? Are we using it? It's interesting that we bought a cat, which happens to be the most expensive piece of equipment you can get for that type of equipment. It's got a closed-in cab, when you can buy a SkyTrack for a quarter as much. We've also had a FOIA request where we requested a lot of information about middle school students, and I appreciate the high school students here, but being poached into a sexualized club in middle school. It is my view that this is too young. Parents are still trying to teach the kids their values. That's really the big point here. I respect everybody that came up here, thought they gave great speeches, and as individuals, I think they're going to do great. But when you get out in the real world, nobody cares what you identify as. They care about how well you do, how well you perform, how good are your academics in school. So I just want to make sure that that's the focus. This whole bringing like the mental side of things into school, into everyday school, it may have its special place, but it kind of bothers me that that becomes priority one. If this was always the situation for years, for forever, why do we need it now? Why is the focus now? And with that, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Gillian Smith. I'm an 8th grader at Jefferson. It's just a short little request. I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around this evening, like, you know, how much money the district is spending every month, every year. And the Jefferson Middle School track is in really bad shape. And I've had quite a few friends fall and have injuries on it this year. And I don't know, I just think it's in need of improving.